Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone, a friend, a coworker, maybe even a family member, and as they speak, something strange happens. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts slow, as if wading through thick fog. A dull exhaustion creeps in, not from physical labor, but from something deeper, something almost invisible. By the time they leave, you feel inexplicably drained, as if they've siphoned away a part of you. What is that? It's not their words. It's not their actions. It's something beneath the surface, a hidden exchange of energy, a silent transfer of vitality. And the unsettling truth? Some people, knowingly or not, are psychological vampires. They don't just take your time or attention, they take something far more precious, your life force. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unconscious parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. But what if this shadow isn't just personal? What if it operates between people, an unseen force that pulls at the threads of your psyche? Consider this paradox. The people who drain you are rarely the obvious villains. They might be charming, even kind. They might believe they love you. Yet, after every encounter, you're left emptier than before. Why? Because energy theft isn't about malice. It's about unconscious hunger. A hunger for validation, for control, for the emotional labor you unknowingly supply. Ask yourself, why do certain people leave you feeling hollow, even when nothing overtly toxic occurred? Why do you sometimes feel responsible for their moods, their problems, their unresolved pain? And most chilling of all, could you be draining someone else without realizing it? This is not just about toxic people. This is about the invisible economy of human energy, the silent wars waged in the realm of the psyche. And if you don't understand the rules, you'll keep paying with your sanity, your joy, your very soul. The question isn't whether this happens. The question is, why does it keep happening to you? And more importantly, how do you stop it before it consumes you whole? The draining phenomenon isn't mere coincidence. It's a psychological law in motion. Carl Jung saw it clearly. Where love rules, there is no to power. And where power predominates, their love is lacking. Yet most energy vampires operate in the gray zone between the two, disguising their hunger as love, concern, or even victimhood. At its core, this is about projection, the unconscious act of casting one's unresolved shadows onto others, the perpetually negative friend who demands you absorb their pessimism, the charismatic manipulator who feeds on admiration, the helpless soul who binds you with guilt. These are not monsters. They are fractured people acting out the dramas of their own unlived lives. And without realizing it, you become their stage. Friedrich Nietzsche glimpsed this truth when he wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties." The most potent chains are not made of steel, but of unspoken expectations, of the quiet, gnawing belief that you must compensate for another's emptiness. But why does this happen? 1. The parasitic psyche. Some individuals, often due to childhood wounds or deep insecurity, develop an unconscious survival tactic, emotional outsourcing. Instead of facing their own pain, they recruit others to hold it for them. You become their container. 2. The bait of the wounded. Like a moth to flame, the empathetic are drawn to fix, to heal, to rescue. But not all wounds want sutures. Some want blood. 3. Society's silent endorsement. Modern culture rewards neediness disguised as vulnerability and manipulation masked as charm. We call it connection, but often it's covert extraction. The terrifying implication: you may have been trained to tolerate this, to mistake exhaustion for care, depletion for loyalty. But here's the turning point. Draining is not one-sided. It requires a host, someone willing, even compelled, to give too much. Which means the real question isn't why do they take? It's why do you let them? The toll of these encounters accumulates silently, like poison in the bloodstream. At first, it's just fatigue, a heavy sigh after a conversation, a vague sense of being used. But left unchecked, the damage goes deeper. Your creativity dims. Ideas that once flowed freely now feel just out of reach, as if your mental energy is perpetually diverted to managing someone else's unresolved chaos. Your boundaries erode. That subtle voice that once said, "This isn't right," grows quieter each time you override it to keep the peace. Your emotional resilience withers. Small setbacks now feel catastrophic because your reserves, the inner strength that should be yours alone, have been siphoned away. Jean-Paul Sartre saw this clearly. Hell is other people, but the true horror isn't others. It's the unconscious self-betrayal that allows them to become hell. Modern neuroscience confirms what the mystics always knew. Emotions are contagious. Mirror neurons fire whether we consent or not, syncing us to the emotional states of those around us. When you're near an energy vampire, your nervous system doesn't just respond to their dysregulation, it adopts it. Their anxiety becomes your pulse racing. Their despair becomes the weight in your chest. And the cruelest twist, the more empathetic you are, the more vulnerable you become. Society praises this as being a good person, but nature has no such sentimentality. In the wild, a predator doesn't admire the gazelle's kindness, it exploits it. This isn't metaphor. It's biology. It's psychology. It's the reason you can sleep for 8 hours after seeing certain people and still wake up exhausted. But the most dangerous consequence isn't what they take. It's what you lose by believing this is normal. The moment of liberation begins with a shocking realization. You're not responsible for the emptiness of others. This is where Jung's shadow work becomes revolutionary. The people who drain you are mirrors, not of your compassion, but of your unclaimed power. Every time you let someone overstep your boundaries, you reinforce their unconscious belief that they need to take from you to survive. The rebellion starts when you refuse to play the role of the host. The counterintuitive truths. 1. Kindness without boundaries is violence to yourself. The ancient Greeks had a word for unhealthy self-sacrifice, hubris, the arrogance of thinking you can or should bear burdens that aren't yours. True compassion requires discernment. Giving to those who only know how to take doesn't heal them, it enables their starvation. 2. The art of psychological aikido. Energy vampires feed on reaction. When you stop resisting their drama, arguing, fixing, absorbing, their power dissolves. Practice non-engagement. That's an interesting perspective. Or, I'll think about that, becomes an impenetrable shield. 3. Reclaim your energy through ritual. After draining encounters, reset your nervous system. Cold water on the wrists. A minute of focused breathing. Walking barefoot on grass. These aren't just self-care. They're reclaiming ceremonies, signaling to your psyche that your energy is yours alone. The forbidden question. What if the people who drain you need you to stop enabling them? What if your withdrawal is the only intervention that could force them to confront their own hunger? This isn't abandonment. It's the ultimate act of respect for them and for yourself. Here is the revelation that changes everything. No one can drain you without your unconscious permission. This is not victim blaming. It is empowerment distilled to its purest form. Jung called it individuation. Nietzsche termed it self-overcoming. But the core truth remains. Your energy is governed by your sovereignty, not their hunger. The moment you stop fearing their disappointment, their anger, or their sadness, their power over you evaporates. The paradigm shift. They are not the problem. Your belief in scarcity is. The fear that says, if I don't give, I will lose love, acceptance, safety. But what if the opposite is true? What if your drained state is what actually repels abundance? Your energy is finite and sacred. Every moment spent managing another's emotional chaos is a moment stolen from your creativity, your joy, your destiny. Guard it like the rarest currency. The ultimate boundary is not no, it's I exist. Not as a function of their needs, but as a sovereign being. This is the unshakable stance that collapses parasitic dynamics at their root. The invitation. Next time you feel that familiar drain, ask, what part of me is still willing to believe I have to pay for love with my life force? Then, and this is the revolutionary act, let the question hang in the air without an answer. The silence that follows is where your power lives. This is not transcendence. It is reclamation. You are not a well to be emptied. You are the ocean, and no cup, no matter how thirsty, can ever claim your depths. Now, act accordingly.